Hi guys, this is post 2 on my discussion about how to interpret the 4 curricular components, or how I interpret it in the first 5 chapters. I think this one's going to be pretty short and sweet, I hope. Basically how I interpret it is very negative. Hopefully I am not given the wrong impression of this, or I didn't interpret it incorrectly. I think all 4 components are addressed: the ecological, the anthropological, pedagogical, and the epistemological, which I stumble over that word quite often. As far as ecological, we all know that's the non-human environmental factors that affect learning. I think in chapter 2 on page 21, there's one sentence that fits into that category that stood out to me, that many students resist learning in innumerable ways. The professor doesn't really go on to say what those ways are, but those of us that have been teaching a while understand what those can be it work that the student has to go to, home, environment, the culture that they're raised in. Those all have some kind of effect on a student's learning in school that we as teachers feel we have no control over at times. The second one, the anthropological, which is the human interaction with students that they experience in school with other humans. I believe all 5 chapters address this issue. Chapter 1 specifically, when the professor encourages students to keep students intellectually engaged. Personally, that could flow over into the pedagogical side too, but I think it cultivates students' thinking, and that's just interaction between humans. And I think it should be not just teacher-student, but administration, staff, lunchroom lady, I don't care who it is, outside forces. Like right now in Midland, we're having a boom, and I don't think the businesses are getting as involved in the educational system as possible, and humanitarian efforts where they can volunteer. Pedagogical, I think that it's stressed in every chapter as well. One specifically in chapter 1, the professor mentions actually integrating field experiences at the university level. I know a lot of schools are trying to do that now, colleges specifically, especially when new teacher training is involved in the mentoring process. It's also suggested in chapter 2 that the dean doesn't understand the problems of schooling, much less the solutions. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. My dog's barking at me because she wants in here and I'm not letting her in. In fact, he says he doesn't even understand the basic source of information. He talks about the dean not really understanding the whole concept of transforming school and teacher education. And as a new teacher, I felt like I knew how to teach, but when I got into the real classroom setting, I wasn't prepared. And I think a lot of it has to do with field experience. And having someone be over the program that has been in the classroom at the public school level. As a matter of fact, I was once deducted on one of my evaluations from a principal because I don't think he knew the learning process and how teacher education and experiential knowledge can be seen in the classroom. I had a group of 7th graders that were balancing chemical equations. 7th graders already doing this, and I was told on my evaluation that my students were too loud. And personally, I think he missed the whole point that, once again, 7th graders were balancing chemical equations. And the ones that got it were helping the ones that didn't. So there was the teaching aspect as well from the student to student. And with peer interaction, I thought it was a great lesson. Obviously, some people have differences of opinions, and that's okay. As far as I have a hard time with this. Epistemological, curriculum-wise, pretty much. Pedagogy aspect as well. I think this has to do, I think all these bleed over. I didn't really see a whole lot of being addressed of the official curriculum in school. I may have overlooked that, and if I did, would you please respond in your answering questions and answers when you have them. I did see something in the creed. I thought it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, though, that addressed the curriculum pointing to the family. Chapter 4, it addresses at the college level basically when they're talking about research to assist in teaching and the importance of good research. And he also states that the professor states that our emphasis on passing standardized tests doesn't necessarily help people think for themselves either. And after I read all this, it seemed real political, so I'm thinking maybe it's time to add another dimension to Dewey's concept. Maybe the fifth dimension would be the political dimension. It seemed to be very evident throughout the first 5 chapters, especially chapter 2, just to bring one up, that many board members aren't even interested in education but in promoting their own political ambitions. I believe that to be very true at times. He also warns that students to be careful not to push the student that wrote him not to push his own agenda, basically taking one aspect, or I don't want to say indoctrination, but getting rid of one and pushing their own, because that can cause problems as well. I think that's about all I have. Much of the discussion was given to the principals and to the administration at the secondary and tertiary levels of education throughout the first 5 chapters. If I've missed something, if y'all will please respond back, ask me a question, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much.